Good evening. Welcome to the January 3rd Village Board Legislative Session. This meeting is now called to order. We'll begin with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think before the clerk begins, I should have said our reorganizational meeting. Are we technically beginning with the reorg meeting and then going into our legislative session?
Correct.
So,
Trustee Bazemore.
Present.
Trustee Codman.
Present.
Trustee Herrera.
Present.
Trustee Levin. Mayor Garrity.
present.
We'll move into mayor's and trustees' announcements.
Yes, I would like to begin with several remarks. The first meeting of the year, we were all together on New Year's Day for our inauguration, and I say welcome back to Trustee Bazemore and welcome back to Trustee Herrera. Trustee Herrera was with us a few years ago before leaving to pursue other ventures, and he is back with us. So we are looking forward to an exciting and productive year. It's always beneficial to reflect on our experience and what it has taught us, and about how we can best serve the people of Ossining. So in 2018, we look to build on the success and the lessons of the past. The core responsibilities of the Board of Trustees are to establish policies, then enact legislation that will enable those policies to happen, and provide the funding needed to implement those policies. So as we enthusiastically embark on the challenges ahead, let us recognize the outstanding accomplishments of 2017. Excuse me. There were a lot of them, hence I need a glass of water. So get comfortable, and for those of us who take so much pride in the work that we do and in our community, you'll have much to be reminded of that you can feel great about. The budget we passed a month ago is now being set into motion. It includes about $250,000 directed toward economic development through an updating of our comprehensive plan, a new approach to parking, and establishing a clear economic strategy for how Ossining will move forward. Economic development is a priority that encompasses everything from paving to parking, housing to streetlights, and taxes to zoning. So I'll begin by highlighting some of the tangible and most direct actions that we have taken to promote our local economy. One of them I actually have a prop for, because we have, 5 more days when people can use their Ossining bucks. So if you have one of these that's sitting in your glove box, take it out, go grab some pizza, pick up some dry cleaning, go get your hair done, probably Friday after the snow has melted and been shoveled a bit, because you have to the beginning of next week. And that was an initiative that came to us. It was something that was brought to our attention by the Chamber of Commerce, that they'd love to see us do something innovative and different for supporting the local businesses during the holiday shopping. And so we'll look back and see how that worked, how we might tweak it, or what we might do next year. We started off this year with our first piece of legislation being directed toward expanding economic development opportunities with sidewalk cafes. They used to be limited in what months sidewalk cafes were permitted, and now they're 12 months of the year, and that was our first law of last year. And our first law of the previous year was also related to economic development, where we expanded the definition of artist workspace to encourage entrepreneurial businesses that are more reflective of who we are today. So it's always nice when we can point directly to legislative action that supports our big picture goals, and economic development is certainly high on that list. So is maintaining our tax rate as low as possible, and I'm very pleased that for the second year in a row, we have had a 0% tax rate increase. And that's emblematic of our commitment to making the most of every tax dollar and doing what we can on a village level to keep Ossining relatively affordable for this part of the country. On a more fun note, Ossining sparkles year-round thanks to the tree lights that wrap the trees throughout our downtown district. That was a new initiative this year, along with the adopting of tree wells. In fact, you can still adopt a tree well, which will support the expanded plantings in the high visibility locations. And as you probably know what I'm talking about, if you think about those trees, they have the beautiful metal work that was done locally. The metal fencing seems like an understatement, but that was crafted here locally. The metal surrounding for the fences there. And, one big initiative related to economic development is the recommendations that were brought to us by the Downtown Redevelopment Working Committee. And they are serving as the foundation for some major initiatives in 2012, most notably engaging an economic development consultant, our parking implementation study, and the updating of the comprehensive plan. So if you've not read the DRWC report or watched the meeting in July where they presented their report, you can find it right front and center of our website. All of the links are there. It was a mostly volunteer-led effort, and they really did an outstanding job of helping those of us on the board to prioritize our economic development goals. And since that group existed, several of the DRWC members have followed up that service by volunteering to serve on a permanently standing committee. And I anticipate that in the coming year, particularly as we're focused on our comprehensive plan update, that we will have more folks stepping up from that group as well as the community more broadly. So, housing. We have a very multifaceted approach to make housing in Ossining more safe, affordable, and accessible. And we've already begun the legislation, the funding, and appointing and implementing needed to move in the direction of our goals. And there's much more to come. In 2017, last year, we engaged Kevin Dworka Consulting to undertake a housing needs assessment, which included an in-depth analysis of data and feedback solicited from community members through a number of methods. The recommendations from this study are already beginning to move forward and will be discussed in an upcoming work session further. I'm very pleased that tonight we will be voting to appoint several new members to the newly reestablished and expanded Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. We had established a Landlord-Tenant Relations Council subcommittee, which worked very hard to come up with a new approach. In fact, it was a recent legislation that was passed by this board to strengthen the ability for the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council to improve housing conditions in Ossining. One of the tools to support the work of the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council is a new approach to inspecting rental units for Ossining, which have been, will mean that we are engaging with an outside firm to provide us with insight and data that we have been lacking up to this point. So we're really taking very seriously opportunities to improve our housing conditions here, and are very, very pleased that we've had so many people who have stepped up to want to help make those improvements happen. Now, infrastructure, obviously, at its foundation is really what village government is required to do. We keep the, we pick up your garbage, we make sure you have clean, safe, reliable drinking water, and something that we all pay attention to, particularly as the snow is falling and we're thinking about our roads, is the paving. In 2018, we are increasing our investment in road paving by nearly 40% more than we spent in 2017. A good chunk of our paving is paid for by grant money through the CHIPS program, and a number of projects are paid for by Con Edison when they have to do road restoration, which we saw this summer on Croton Avenue, and more recently you just saw happening with Ryder Road. The list from 2017 of village-led paving projects included Waller Avenue, Croton Street, the Waller Street parking lot, Linden Avenue, Glen Street, Snowden Avenue, and Sherman Place, and there will be many more to come in 2018. I mentioned safe, reliable drinking water. This year, we were really delighted to complete an impressive program up at the Indian Brook Water Reservoir. We upgraded our 100-plus-year-old earthen dam. It was a major infrastructure project, ensuring we will have safe, reliable drinking water for our community for generations to come, and that is at the heart of a healthy and thriving community. We are very fortunate to have our own water source in Ossining, and taking good care of it is the right thing to do for the environment, for the people and businesses of Ossining, and it is the fiscally wise thing to do. Bless you. Getting awarded for good work isn't what motivates us to accomplish infrastructure projects, but it sure is nice when we're recognized for great work. And this year, the village took home the New York Planning Federation's Heisenbutel Award for the innovative Sing Sing Kill Greenway, transforming a sanitary sewer line into a public greenway, which meanders through the majestic gorge in the heart of our downtown caught the attention of this statewide organization. We're very pleased to be honored in that way. One of our most well-utilized buildings in village government is the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. It serves thousands of residents of all ages, and one of the most high-profile upgrades to this facility since the indoor pool was installed more than a decade ago is the beautiful new gym floor. Many of us were there for the inauguration this past weekend. Kids will be back there this weekend or tonight playing basketball. It's utilized very, very heavily from so many different organizations. The seniors are in there every week as well. It's a really well-utilized facility, and we're delighted to see this lovely upgrade that's going to be appreciated for a generation. We also want to say thank you to our friends in the town for always striving to work together to do great things for our community at large, particularly in ways that we might be able to be better connected between the village and the town of Ossining. I was delighted just a month or so ago to accept the Groundbreakers Award alongside Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg. We were honored by Pace Land Use Law Center for our partnership in applying for grants. Most notably, one that's underway is the MOGO, which is Millwood Ossining Go, which is the cycling pathway that's being planned to connect the village of Ossining along with the town of the town of Newcastle and the town of Ossining, and we are really looking forward to seeing that continue to move forward, as well as any other opportunities that we are able to make happen to further connect the residential, business, and cultural hubs of our communities. One department in Ossining is particularly special and unique and serves all of us, and that is the Ossining Volunteer Fire Department. And OFD continues to be a leader among departments in our region, and they are a very busy department. They responded to 702 calls last year alone. To support the fire department's ability to keep our community safe, for the 2018 budget, the board increased funding to the budget line that is dedicated particularly to recruitment and retention, and we are very blessed to have a strong, vibrant department. One item in relation to our infrastructure that we're going to get started this year, but it's going to be a multi-year project. I'm looking at Debbie because we always want to manage expectations, because we know this is not going to be a quick undertaking, but that is re-engaging with the New York State Department of Transportation so that we can have some realigning, restriping, redirecting of the state roads that cut through our communities. Most notably is at the epicenter of it is the intersection between Route 9 and Route 133, but really also Route 134 is another state road, and all of them really cut through our community in a way that can divide us rather than helping to connect our various neighborhoods, both residential and business. So we are going to be reigniting the, re-engaging with the DOT this year and starting that process. And we know it will be a multi-year process, and we're really pleased that Debbie is helping to coordinate that. We've started internally and are getting our ducks in a row to move that ahead. That was also one of the recommendations from the Downtown Redevelopment Working Committee, and it's something that anybody who's been paying attention to village government for a number of years knows that it's been discussed before, and as the traffic has gotten worse and worse, it's certainly time to address it more effectively than it currently is being handled. Communication, particularly how we in local government engage with the community, has expanded greatly in recent years, and we are continuing to improve that this coming year. Looking to my right now, because anybody with a Facebook or Twitter account wasn't surprised to learn that the Ossining Police Department was honored this year with the Best of New York Best Use of Social Media and Community Engagement Award. Thank you very much, Chief Sylvester, for being such a leader in that regard. Community policing is core to how our department operates, and they are certainly the leader in social media communications among departments in our region. Thank you for always making us drawing attention to so many of the positive things that are happening to our community through the good work of your department. One of the other initiatives that I took on this year was to send out a weekly email. It's an email I call it the Monday Mayor's Message. It arrives in your inbox every week, providing insight into what village government has been doing for the past week and will be doing for the coming week. If you aren't already receiving that email, just send your email address to me at mayor@villageofossining.org, and we will add you to the list. I continue to hold open office hours every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This is a practice I began when I became mayor 3 years ago. No appointment is necessary. And each week is a new, fascinating, and enlightening experience, as I never know who's going to come. As I said, no appointment is necessary, so just the next time you have Tuesday morning between 10 and 12 available, come on over to 16 Croton Avenue, Village Hall, and I'll be in the Board of Trustees office. Obviously, Wednesdays, we are either here in this room on Spring Street, or we are at Village Hall for a work session. When we're here, we have visitor recognition. For a number of years, visitor recognition was not done on camera. And beginning with my first meeting 3 years ago as mayor, we kept the cameras rolling through visitor recognition. We think that's an important part of being able to hear from community members, and for community members' concerns, questions, and priorities to be heard by everyone in the community. It's an essential component to open government. While each of these previous initiatives that I just listed for community engagement are ongoing, the weekly walks that I began a year ago will soon be wrapping up. I have nearly accomplished my goal of walking every block of the village, and I've been really fortunate to meet some very interesting people, to learn a lot about neighborhoods that I had only ever driven through before, and to see things in a new way. I'll be sharing some of my reflections on that lengthy and insightful exercise as I wrap it up in the coming weeks. And I will also then be making an announcement for what activity I have in store next, so stay tuned. And you, if you are on our email list, you have also noticed that the Village Management Office has increased our email communications with Constant Contact. In fact, just this week, you may have received an email inviting you to go skating at the rink in Veterans Memorial Park. If you can tolerate being outside for a little while, this is certainly a wonderful way to make use of this truly winter weather we are having. And this is actually the most exciting news perhaps of my whole report, one of the most effective tools that we have for sharing information with the community is our village website. I didn't warn you that I was going to call everyone's attention to this. No pressure. But we are very excited to announce that the new village website will be launching later this month. It's something that has been a long time in the works, and it's been a lot of work to get to this point, and we are really, really pleased with the product as it's going to roll out in the next few weeks. And we know that there will be feedback from folks who use our website, and I'm sure that that will be constructive and helpful, and it's going to continue to be an even more valuable resource for folks to gather information. So the final category I'd like to highlight is the reason why we're all here, and that is the people of Ossining, both the people we serve in the community and the people who make up village government. Ossining is a highly engaged community. We are on the board are delighted that later this evening we will be voting to appoint new members to several boards and committees. We have a couple of applicants left in the queue to interview later this month, but after tonight we are thinking that we have filled almost all positions on our volunteer boards and committees, which is the first time in a long time. We've had some reestablishing of both the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, which we, and the Board of Ethics. In both instances, subcommittees were established with members of the board and working with Corporation Counsel, and in both cases, the membership was expanded, and that was done as part of a series of local laws, or is it all meshed into one local law, that we just two local laws? Okay, so, and the local law we passed last week was our last one of the year, which really clarified, it's a tribute to how valuable we know these boards and committees can be for village government. It is increasing the training provided and expected for a number of the boards. It is establishing an expectation for attendance. and establishing some term limits. And all of this has resulted in some exciting new appointments. Some people are switching from one committee to another and cross-pollinating their institutional knowledge, and some people are stepping up and getting involved in a way that they never have before in their community, and we're really, really thrilled about all of them. And my final two comments will be about two of the people who are seated here at this table to my left. Stuart Kahan, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
He has been our corporation counsel for 1 year since this meeting. And in just his first year with the village, Stuart has guided us to, from what I can see, pass a record number of local laws in 1 year, including one of the most challenging ones that he really took on and guided us through, which was a critical step toward proactively addressing the challenges of effective code enforcement needed to improve housing safety. And thank you for that and for your incredible responsiveness to helping us make wise and thoughtful decisions in all that we do here for village government. Last but certainly not least is Debbie McDonald. She joined us as village manager just in time to lead us through the budget process. And I think that process provided her with a powerful and tangible way to delve into what makes village government tick. And if you watched her budget presentation in November, you've seen how she's able to distill tens of millions of dollars and thousands of budget line items into an illustration of how village government serves the people of Ossining. But it wasn't her, it was really her extensive experience in economic and community development that led us to select her to be Ossining's new village manager, and we are very excited for this coming year. Now you've gotten to kind of know who we are, and you're a resident of the village, and you've gotten an opportunity to really work closely with your colleagues in village government, and we're excited to see you move forward with implementing so many of the policies and plans and all the great stuff that we have in the 2018 budget. And so with that, I will open it up to my colleagues on the board. If there is anything important that I left off the list, please chime in, or if you have any opening remarks, please do. Otherwise, we have lots of great stuff to discuss this evening. Anybody else?
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning and Happy New Year to all. So I just wanted to say, hold on, it's on.
You want it to be popped up. It's the opposite of what you think. One more. There you go.
Been a while. Good evening and a Happy New Year to all. It's great to be here. I just have two announcements. As we know, it is frigid outside, and the forecast will remain the same for the weeks to come, according to forecast. So there is a winter coat drive being held this Sunday at St. Anne's Church in their basement, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. The program's very simple. If you're cold, take one. If you want to help, leave one. There are many people who could use a coat, so I encourage you to stop by. It's going to be from 12 to 5 p.m. at the Church of St. Anne's. Speaking of frigid weather, the Ossining Emergency Shelter Project is going on until March of 2018 of this year. All you have to do is meet in front of Open Door Family Medical Center by 9 p.m. and a shelter staff person will meet you. And depending where the shelter is that week, whether it is in walking distance or out of town, they arrange for you to get there. If you want to be more involved or you want to know what the whole project's about, I encourage you to please email me at Herrera, Herrera, at villageofossining.org. And that's all. Thank you.
Please.
I want to thank the mayor for her summary of our activities last year. I think that there's a lot there, and I think this board is highly engaged and has spent a lot of time, not just in these meetings, but in numerous other meetings, trying to get our arms around, all the different aspects of making this a great community and putting all the pieces together to engage with the community and put those volunteer boards together. I'd like to call out REAK 11 and also Montel Bazemore for the hard work that they did, especially on the Tenant Relations Committee, which is, I'm very excited that that committee is reconstituted and put together. I also think that we can't do all these things without the amazing employees we have here in municipal government. And so we're really blessed to have all of them working for us They're going to be out tonight, starting at midnight, when the snow falls. So they're here for us all the time, whenever we need them. And we're blessed in the Highway Department, Public Works, obviously the Water Department. I'd like to call out our emergency services. The mayor mentioned the Volunteer Fire Department, largest in the state of New York, one of the best. We're blessed with that. Our police department, led by Kevin Sylvester, and also OVAC, which is another great service. So we have all the pieces to really provide great services here in this village, and I'm proud to serve and humbled every day by the work that I do here. On a lighter note, I want to remind everybody that one of my favorite passions is jazz music, and every second Saturday, and now even more twice a month now, we're going to have jazz music at the Ossining Elks Lodge. And so our first show of the year is going to be Saturday the 13th. Paul Connor's organ trio is coming into town. He is a fabulous organ player, Hammond B3 organ. He brings that in, and it sounds great, and it's a wonderful evening of jazz. It's $10 at the door. All that money goes to the band. There's also a separate $10 buffet that starts at 6 o'clock, and the lodge welcomes everybody to come and have a meal before the music. So that's Saturday, January 13th, first, second Saturday jazz at the Elks Lodge. Thanks so much. Well, we're going to have an additional show on the 27th. I'm doing 2 shows a month from now until June, and we're going to have the Corcovado Samba Jazz Trio at the end of January, which I'm very excited about. They played, I had them over the summer, and they also played in the Sunny Shore Rock Festival, so that's going to be a real good show, too. Thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk.
We'll move into 2018 Mayor's Liaison appointments.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to first say thank you very much to Deputy Mayor Codman. He has served in this position for a number of years now and has agreed to continue serving as Deputy Mayor. And it's a real pleasure to be able to work closely with him and to call on him for his sage advice and thoughtfulness, and to let me either complain to or ponder to. And I'm really very pleased that he's willing to serve in that position again this year, which is why he's seated in the seat to my right. Learned from Marianne Roberts, which I learned from Marianne Roberts. My first day as mayor is the assigned seat no matter what. And I'm very pleased that you're still seated there. Thank you so much. With that, I also have a number of liaison appointments, and each year, exactly what appointments we make changes a little bit. So I've cut back on a few, really just focusing on the relationships that we have with particular committees, village committees particularly, where it's important that village board have someone present much of the time, and come back and report to us or share with the committee or the organization where the board is thinking, and it's an important relationship. So I had conversations with most members of the board asking what their priorities are for this year and what they would be most interested in where they would be most interested in serving, and it's a tricky little puzzle, trying to have everything covered and have everyone serving in the place that's best for them. As mayor, I serve as ex officio to all of the committees, and so typically we like to have just one other board member serving on them so that we don't end up with 3 of us showing up to a meeting, but in one instance we'll just communicate in advance and make sure that doesn't happen. So we'll go in alphabetical order. Trustee Bazemore. I'd like Trustee Bazemore to continue on in his role with the Intermunicipal Leadership Council, which is an organization we meet quarterly, and it's representatives from the village, the town, the police department, the library, the schools, Open Door, Communities That Care, a number of community organizations that come together, and largely we talk about issues related to youth, but it's also just a really wonderful opportunity to be in a room together with leaders and folks making decisions across agencies in our community. So thank you for your service in that, and the village will be hosting the agenda in the next quarter, so we look forward to being able to communicate with those organizations about some of where we are with our priorities and projects for this year. Also, and I'm going to reference Trustee Levin at this point too, because Trustee Bazemore and Trustee Levin, as what was referenced, the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council Subcommittee, they were the representatives that worked with our Corporation Council to update that committee. And so as that committee gets underway, which we will hopefully be appointing 8 members to that committee tonight, the council tonight, it seemed a good idea to provide some continuity for you folks to continue on as the liaison, at least for this year, because there are still some things to be figured out on how that council is really going to function, and realizing what your schedules were like. You each have different times of the year when your regular jobs are more demanding, so you'll kind of work out who's gonna be participating at what time. So thank you both for your incredible work in bringing that council together. I think it's going to be a real asset, both for tenants, for landlords, and as an advisory group for us in the village, as we have such a focus on housing. And then one more for Trustee Bazemore, and that is to continue working with the Chamber of Commerce. So I know that you have enjoyed your relationship with them, and we have had some good partnerships developing, particularly with the Ossining Bucks program this year, so we'll look to continue to expand positive relations with the Chamber of Commerce. So, Deputy Mayor Codman. Everybody's load is getting lightened a little bit this year, but I know that there's some that you don't want to let go of. And one that you've had, I believe, since you started on the board, and so, and that's the fire department. And I've toyed with the idea of asking somebody else to take that on, but for this year, I'd like you to continue. It could be a really interesting year working with the fire department, particularly as it relates to potential changes in zoning and the potential for a new firehouse, and I think it would be helpful for you to have some continuity in that role. So thank you for working so closely with the chiefs to keep the lines of communication open there. And, it was brought to my attention by one of the fire chiefs that he finds it helpful that you are the liaison to both OFD and OPD. So I think that you and Chief Sylvester have developed a nice way of communicating with each other, if you would please continue in that role. And as well as the Ossining Arts Project, which is still a relatively new group and constantly evolving, and it was a really hands-on project to get underway. I think maybe the leadership now it's rolling a little bit. So, thank you for that, and it dovetails nicely with your jazz program. You're just all about the arts. So, Trustee Herrera. One organization. One group that has been probably needs some more appointments and definitely would benefit from some hands-on work with our liaison is the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board. We are the only department in Westchester County that has a Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, and it's something that is an essential resource in our community, we believe, for anyone who has questions or concerns that they want to bring forward. This is a group made up of both members of the police department, but mostly of members of the community, to make sure that concerns are being heard. And it also, if typically there may not be an actual case to review, but all of the members of that council undergo significant training. And I know that, Mr. Herrera, you've actually done some of the programs that have been organized by the police department, so you've actually done some of the training, I believe, that would be undertaken by members of the yeah, oh, yeah? Okay. According to the chief, you think he's done all of it? He's already trained?
It may cover all of it. We'll check what the
Excellent.
curriculum had, but it should be a good portion of.
Excellent, excellent. And so that would be your first assignment. And this year, we've approached the IMA negotiations different ways in the past. So it's We have a lot of intermunicipal agreements with the town, and we have some that need to be updated, for sure. And it's nice when we can have continuity of the folks who are in the room and part of these conversations. It always involves, obviously, management, village management, and corporation council. And I attend most of these meetings. For our side, often our treasurer's office is represented because there's so much financial implications with these relationships. And we do like to have a trustee representative whenever possible. So you would be our first ask if you're available to be part of those meetings. And if not, then if you were not available, then we would open it up to any other board member so that as many members of the board and voices can be heard and communicating back and forth, because those are really critical meetings. And OVAC, our Volunteer Ambulance Corps, they have regular meetings, and that's a really important group to be connected with. And I have not done a good job myself at attending most of the meetings, although I have the next one on my schedule, so maybe we'll be able to attend that one together. Trustee Levin, I don't know if you've been keeping track of what's left on the list, but the Downtown Development Fund Council is an organization that you've done such a terrific job in really pointing in a constructive direction after they had been a fairly passive group for a number of years, and I'd be grateful if you would continue in that role. And as I mentioned, you're already going to be participating with the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council and sharing that liaison role with Trustee Bazemore. The big one that I'm adding to your list, and you and I kind of talked about it, but it might be a little bit of a surprise, is the Environmental Advisory Council. When Rika first became mayor, nope, you didn't become mayor, that's me, first became a trustee 2 years ago? 2 years ago last fall?
2 years and
Yeah. Right, yes, yes, exactly. And so when Rika first joined the board, one of the things she said to me is, I want us to be not just the most green village, I want us to be the most green community in all of the state of New York, not just Westchester County. And the Environmental Advisory Council is, they have a very specific responsibility to review certain developments, but they also have the capability to be much more influential as an advisory group for the Board of Trustees. And we've made some recent appointments. We have one more to vote on tonight, and so we're really looking forward to seeing that group become a more vibrant, active group. And so I'm hoping that Rika's work with them can be instrumental in having them be more influential and for the benefit of us broadly in the village. And that is all of our appointments. If you did not write those all down, Madam Clerk, I can email them to you for the minutes.
thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, the website will be updated accordingly.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. I knew there was one that I forgot. That was what I was looking up. Because I was debating about it. Thank you, Debbie. I wish I'd reviewed these with you in advance so I didn't have to make my final decision on the spot, but you're right. Rika, you can keep it. I know you really enjoy that board. You really enjoy it, so I won't take it away from you. I was debating if I was going to ask somebody else to take it on, because it is a time commitment, but it's an enjoyable one. So
Well, it is for me anyway.
yeah.
Really, it's going to be very,
That's true. It would be nice to have some continuity, yes.
it'll be really interesting.
All right, so thank you. Recreation Advisory Board, that is one that we definitely need to have a liaison position to. All right, there we go. Now I'm truly done. Madam Clerk.
Okay. We'll move into our annual resolutions. Board of Trustees meeting schedule, regular meeting, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining will hold regular meetings of the Village Board as set forth on the schedule below for the year 2018 at 7:30 PM at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, but there needs to be a correction on that.
Okay.
July 4th, I don't know if you all want to come on July 4th?
Oh,
We could take that off. Yeah. Enjoy the fireworks.
Thank
Fireworks early.
Yes, I think the fireworks would probably be the previous Friday, but
Motion to amend?
we have to go
We have
through.
to figure out another date, right?
Oh,
For that week, no, let's just leave that week off for now, and we'll, if we want to add.
How many Wednesdays are that in the month?
I'll look it up.
Oh, my gosh, because there's only 2 that are on this, oh, right, no, of course,
The
because these
11th
are
and
just
the
legislative.
25th would be scheduled as, right now for work sessions.
Yeah, thank you. No, there's only 4 Wednesdays that month, because we have 5 Wednesdays in August. No, yes.
And you don't want to add it in August, because it's
We can meet
the 5th.
the day before, or the day after, right?
Just take the week off.
You can add it in later, you don't have to now.
Look, I'm the one who's saying we could just take the week off. That, you guys totally jump on that. I never say we could take the week off. The chief says it's a good idea. It's one of his weeks, so the manager says it's a good idea.
We'll make it up in August.
We'll figure out one of the 5th.
If we realize that we need to have one on the 1st or the 2nd or the 4th or the 5th, or the 5th or the 6th, we will. But for now, we can just leave it off because we haven't thought it through, so I don't want to add something in without.
Okay, so I move that we strike July 4th from the regular meeting list. And I move that we adopt the schedule
As
as
amended.
I just indicated.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
All, on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Again.
Board of Trustees meeting schedule work sessions. Resolved that work sessions of the Board of Trustees will be held at the Municipal Building, 16 Croton Avenue, as set forth on the schedule below. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter C, official newspaper Gazette. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby designates the Gazette as the official newspaper of the Village of Ossining for 2018 and/or the Journal News as necessary. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter D, mileage allowance. Resolved that wherever it shall be appropriate to compensate village officials and/or village employees for mileage, they shall be reimbursed at a rate of .545 per mile to be paid upon claim voucher after audit and approval in accordance with the IRS standards. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Retaining bond counsel. Resolved that upon recommendation of the village treasurer, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Oric, Harrington, and Stuckcliffe LLP, 666 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10103, to serve as bond counsel effective immediately in accordance with a letter correspondence dated December 26, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Tom, I just wanted to ask, is this the same firm we've always used? Oh, I don't know why this law firm doesn't ring a bell. Okay, or this firm doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, the address sounds the same.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter F, retaining special litigation counsel. Resolved that upon recommendation of the Corporation Counsel, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Hodges, Walsh, and Mesmer, LLP, 55 Church Street, Suite 211, White Plains, New York, 10601, to serve as special counsel for litigation matters in accordance with the letter correspondence dated December 5th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Retaining special counsel for labor matters. Resolved that upon recommendation of Corporation Counsel, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Littler Mendelson LLP, 900 3rd Avenue, New York, New York, 10022, to serve as special counsel for labor matters in accordance with the engagement agreement dated December 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Yeah, and I think we hopefully will have some work for this attorney to take on because we have a CSEA contract that's coming due, so it's going to be a big year for labor negotiations. Madam Clerk? Oh, yes.
Stuart, so these contracts, every year we do this, right?
Yes.
So all your contracts are 1 year versus 2 years or 3 years, correct?
The contracts for labor, contracts for bond counsel, and for outside litigation counsel are all one-year agreements. We get
Okay.
letter agreements from them.
Great. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Letter H, historian appointment, Dana White. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby appoints Dana White, village historian, for the 2018 year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I just,
Second.
Please, be on the board.
so when I was new to the board, one of my most enjoyable parts of it is that I got to meet Dana White. You know, we talk about volunteers, we talk about all the people. I didn't really know how appointments worked. I didn't really understand a lot of this stuff. I have to tell you that if you haven't had a chance to hear her about so much of the history of Ossining, she's fabulous as a person, but she's a wonderful historian to have. You know, she's a member of this community, so easy to reach, although I'm not giving her phone number out here. But so much for the downtown and, you know, for all different holidays that we have. I'm just highly recommending, and I really, hopefully she'll hear this, I've told her this before, is I just feel that it's one of those people in this community that have just added so much breadth and depth. I've lived here for, 24 years, and I'm learning a lot from her. So I hope you all sort of take that opportunity, but also I want to take the opportunity, as I'm sure many of us do, to thank her for service to the community.
Thank you, Rika. I'm glad that you said that. Dana has really done a terrific job at using her skills as a journalist to help tell the story of Ossining's history, and she's done that really focused in on particular issues and questions. And the first big one that I think we all saw her do, and it's actually recorded and you can watch it on YouTube, is focusing on Ossining's downtown. But she's done presentations on the waterfront, on particular neighborhoods that have asked her to. And she brings, once she does a presentation and prepares it, she'll go to nursing homes and community organizations and meetings and Rotary and any groups that invite her and she's done a ton for the Sing Sing Prison Museum. She's on that board as well. So I'm really, really grateful for all that she teaches all of us. So I'm delighted to be supporting her again. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter I, finance adoption of investment policy, whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 39, local governments in the state of New York, including villages, are required to adopt a comprehensive written investment policy, and whereas local governments are required to review their investment policies on an annual basis, and whereas the Village of Ossining has reviewed its policy since adoption in 1993, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following investment policy for the Village of Ossining, subject to approval of Corporation Council. Scope, objectives, delegation of authority, prudence, diversification, internal controls, designation of depositories, collateralizing of deposits, safekeeping and collateralization, permitted investments of authorized financial institutions and dealers, purchase of investments, repurchase agreements, procurement policy for Village of Ossining, estimated amount of purchase contract. Oh, I went too far? Sorry.
Next was another.
Hold on. Purchase agreements. Oh, do I have a motion?
So moved.
We really got the
Second.
substance of that
First, we
one.
want to thank you for not reading all 8 pages.
Yes. We just got through page 7. Well done. Moving on. On the
Sorry, I
board?
missed the motion.
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter J, debt management policy. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby adopts a debt management policy as follows. The treasurer will monitor the debt portfolio annually for refinancing opportunities through services of financial advisor. This can be done in connection to continuing disclosure process. The minimum criteria for bond refunding are as follows. Refunding should produce saving equal to 3% of bonds to be refinanced. Savings after insurance premium should be 2.5 times underwriter's discount and other cost insurance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter K, finance adoption of procurement policy, whereas Section 104-B of the General Municipal Law requires the governing body of every municipality to adopt a procurement policy for all goods and services which are not required by law to be publicly bid, and whereas the comments have been solicited from all officers in the Village of Ossining involved in procurement process, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the following procurement policy, which is intended to apply to all goods and services which are not required by law to be publicly bid. Procurement policy for the Village of Ossining, estimated amount of purchase contract method, estimated amount of public work contract method. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
If somebody seconds it, then we can comment and ask
Second.
questions.
Second.
So, this is, I think, part of sort of public information. You know, there are a lot of policies that we look at this time of the year, and procurement that's done by village management. You have to say that some of us, all of us have spent time looking at the vouchers, detail by detail, bill by bill. We get asked that once in a while, like who actually looks at it, who oversees it. Actually, not only is village management, but all the trustees here have at some point looked and spent hours looking at every receipt and at every bill, and the stacks are, you know, yay high. It's a great education piece, and once in a while we catch something, but mostly the treasurer and the village manager review it and look at it. But it's also a great piece of education to see where the money goes. Allows us to look at line items. And I think for the past few months, Deputy Mayor has been doing it. It's become more digitalized, which I think has been, and I for one am grateful. To spend my Sunday nights for hours in a dark room doing them. So I appreciate you raising your hand, but any one of us can do it. But I am not sure that every municipality does this, but the trustees on this board actually make that effort both to teach ourselves, but also to be able to answer the public that we know where every dollar is spent, really for ourselves so that we can represent the public well. I just wanted to mention, I also wanted to thank you for the past few months doing that work on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
It's probably time to shift that responsibility around too, which wasn't assigned, but we will have a
I continue to
conversation.
be educated by the process.
Continues to enjoy
Somebody
it.
wants to take it on, otherwise I'm happy to keep doing it, so it's
We
fine.
can discuss it later. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Reimbursement of the village employee business expenses, whereas from time to time, employees incur certain expense in connection with performing their duties, attending training, seminars, and/or conferences, and whereas the Village of Ossining has established guidelines which an employee may be legally reimbursed for expenses, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the reimbursement of village employee business expense policy as follows. Purpose of this policy, prior written authorization required, claim voucher required, use of petty cash for employee reimbursements, legal authority, tax exempt certificate, transportation, meals, lodging, registration, tuition, materials, gratuities, periodic review. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter M, Village of Ossining Financial Goals of Policies. Resolve that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following financial goals and policies for the Village of Ossining. Section 1, Introduction, Section 1.1, Financial Goals, Section 2.1, Operating Position Policies, Section 3, Revenue, Section 3.1, Revenue Policies, Section 4, Expenditures, Section 4.1, Expenditures Policies, Section 5, Debt Management, Section 5.1, Debt Management Policies, Section 6, Cash Management, Section 6.1, Cash Management Policies, Section 7, Capital Assessments, Section 7.1, Capital Assessment Policy, Capital Assets Policies, Section 8, Budget Policy, Section 9, Financial Reporting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any comments from the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter N, Personnel Management Benefit Plan. Whereas the Village of Ossining has hereto historically provided and does currently provides certain employment benefits of elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel, and whereas the village desires to ratify and reaffirm the benefits which have been and will continue to be provided to elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the past practice, the Village of Ossining shall continue to provide benefits for elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel as follows. Management benefit plan. Do you want me to read the whole thing? No? Vacation time, personal days, sick leave, longevity, and do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
These titles are all up to date, accurate? Okay. Madam, on the board, any comments? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have a motion to adjourn into our regular meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And the first item on our agenda is administrative reports. Village Manager Deborah McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm very excited to start by talking a little bit about appointments to the land use boards and committees that we have here, the Planning Board, the Zoning Board, Historic Preservation. And it was exciting to see that new people wanted to be on our boards and that we had openings and that we'll have an opportunity to bring on new people. And I think the boards are excited about having new vision as well and new people on their board so that it just stimulates additional conversation. So I just wanted to announce that that I am appointing Kaya Gam and Jeff Gasborough as new members to the Planning Board for a term of January 1, 18 through December 31st, 22. And we are reappointing Paywan Arya to a January 2018 to December of 22 appointment. On the zoning board, we are going to be reappointing Jesus Lopez and Greg Meyer. Jose Lopez's term actually expired in 17, but we'll be continuing it from his expiration date of February of 17 through February of 21. And Mr. Meyer will be February of 18 through February of 22. And then on her Historic Preservation Commission, because Kaya Gam agreed to be on the planning board, she resigned her position on Historic Preservation, and we will be filling that with Dana White. And as you spoke about her expertise, I think it'll be great to have her on the board. And then Phil Ferranda has also agreed to join us on that board, and he brings a real estate background. So I think that'll be a really great combination. Both of them will be appointed January of 2018 through 12 of 2022. I'm really excited about the new direction that we're going with our boards and commissions, so thank you all for your leadership on that. It's always good to get our community involved as much as we can, and I think that the precedent that you set with the legislation that you did at the end of last year to allow rollover and new people to get involved, I think will really be a great asset for our community, so thank you all for your leadership on that. The ice skating rink is open. I'm so excited. I got to see our Zamboni, and I thought the Zamboni was something they actually got on and drove, but it's like a little shovel. And but it's, the guys have done an amazing job of putting that together, and because of the cold weather, it froze very quickly. There's a wonderful fire in the fireplace, so if you come with your families, there is a place to get warm, and it's just a great thing. Jamie suggested that we look for a program maybe that we could do in January for our one day off on Monday. So stay tuned to that. I'm hoping that might materialize, but
Okay, on ice.
it's a hockey kind of thing, so I'm just very excited. And I want to just congratulate the crew for their amazing work. They sent me pictures of how they lay the foundation and how they fill it up and they freeze it and they get it all smooth, and just what a great community asset for us. So I hope that our people in our community will go out and use it as much as possible. And it does have lights at night, so it's open later. I do want to say that we met today, key staff, to talk about the snow event. So the trucks are ready to roll and police is ready, and if we do have a significant event, which I don't know if we will or not, but we are ready. And we will be putting out notices to our community as soon as we know whether or not we need to have a snow emergency or if we need them to clear their cars off the roads for cleaning. So this will be my first event here that's of any significance, and so I'm looking forward to it. But I do believe we have a great staff ready to take charge and do all the right things for our community to keep us safe and keep the roads clear. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm very excited about a lot of these appointments, and when I referenced members of the Downtown Redevelopment Working Committee that have stepped up to serve, just on this list alone, and they're not the only ones, both Kaya Gam and Jeff Gasparo, who are moving to or joining the planning board, were members of the DRWC. In fact, Jeff was one of the chairs, one of the co-chairs of the committee. And Dana White and Phil Ferranda on the Historic Preservation Commission also served on the Downtown Redevelopment Working Committee. So it's great to have them bringing the knowledge that was gained through that committee into their new roles in these permanent standing committees. So really, really excited about those appointments. Council, sorry, didn't mean to jump on your written announcements.
You did not, Mayor, thank you. Get jumped on a lot, but that's perfectly fine. First, Mayor, thank you for your kind words earlier. It is something that a year has already passed. I just remember sitting here a year ago going, what am I supposed to say now? And that time Paul said, just follow the leader. It'll go. And
I thought
it
you were going to
has.
say the time flies when I'm having fun, but I'm not
well,
hearing the fun part.
I can tell you, every day is something different. Every single day.
Still not hearing the word fun.
Fun is an interesting way to describe it. I
Okay.
will leave it at that. But I enjoy it immensely. To trustees Bazemore and Herrera, congratulations to both of you. It's wonderful to see you both. And I do look forward to working with both of you and with the members of the board as we go through 2018. I do want to advise the board, advise the public, that Sonia Tanksley is now Deputy Corporation Counsel. She will primarily be serving as our village prosecutor. She was in court with me yesterday, and as the judge presiding yesterday said, it's a deja vu all over again, but Sonia will be there. We've gone over issues with regard to both the parking calendar that she'll be handling 3 times a month, as well as the building code calendar, which is every Tuesday. And there'll be other matters that I'll be working on with Sonia. I did want to just briefly, Mayor, acknowledge the assistance of past Deputy Corporation Counsel Mark Malone, who for many years was the land use counsel for both planning and zoning boards, and was of great assistance to me over the 2017 year, and also to our former village prosecutor, Bill Hamilton, was also great assistance both with in what goes on in this court and what goes on in the little room in the back when we do parking calendars. Interesting what goes on in that room. But to them, really a shout out and thanks, because in many ways, the work that I'm able to do today is in large part because of the work that they were able to show me over the past year. But we have many things to look forward to this year to build on what was done in 2017, both from a legislative and policy position, and to certainly look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Good evening. 2017 wrap-up, we'll publish a full year in review, which we'll print out for the board and publish as well. But just to give you preliminary figures, right now it looks like we answered 29,431 calls for service. That's significantly down from the 40-some-odd thousand that we ordinarily do. In 2017, we eliminated a lot of administrative tasks that we were documenting through blotters. We were able to supervise in other ways without generating police reports for them. So created a lot of efficiency, saved a lot of time, and eliminates a lot of police reports. We did make 619 arrests in 2017, which is right in line with where we were in the last couple of years. The rest of our tasks will, and all of our accomplishments will publish. Schools are closed tomorrow. We just heard from Superintendent Sanchez, so we're going to be waiting until the early morning hours when the snow begins to fall, and we'll call in the plow trucks for both the village and the town. We're expecting somewhere plus or minus of 6 inches, so we're going to be asking people to stay off the roads more than likely for most of the day tomorrow. It doesn't look like anything that's going to really inhibit travel too much, but at the same time, it's good for the plows to have freedom of travel, so we're going to ask people to stay off the roads and let them get their job done. One of the questions we got today was whether or not cardboard would be picked up tomorrow. I spoke to the to our village engineer, and he said they're going to do their best to get to it. It may be a little bit later in the day, but it's something they're going to try to do as best as possible, particularly because of the holidays. People seem to have a lot of cardboard. So, big word for the week this tomorrow's going to be snow, and we'll see what happens after that.
Thank you.
We'll move into organization announcements. Is there anyone here? Oh, any organization announcements? No? Village board resolutions? Anyone here to speak to the board
About resolutions.
About resolutions on tonight's
about
agenda.
resolutions? Nope. So we'll move into our board resolutions. Approval of minutes, December 20, 2017. Resolve that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of December 20, 2017 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
The board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter B approved.
Omar probably is abstaining because he wasn't.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Approval of voucher detail, January 3rd, 2018. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated January 3rd, 2018 in the amount of $9,034,863.42. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Yes.
I'd like to comment
Please
on the
do.
vouchers because of the large amount. I had a chance to talk to Dale Ferrer today just to talk about large amount. Basically, we're self-funding from an insurance perspective, and in order for us to do that, we have to set aside money to collateralize our insurance refunds to our. There's a significant deposit, probably north of $7 million total, that's being set aside for the sole purpose of making sure that we're taking care of all the medical benefits that we give to our employees. So, and I think there's about $89,000 that was part of the IFCA project that was under capital. That was the pass-through reimbursement that we did for improvements that they had done on some buildings. That was a grant that we had managed for them. So, but otherwise, I had a chance to review the everything, and everything looked pretty normal.
Thank you very much.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter C, amendment to flexible spending plan. Resolve that the village manager of the Village of Ossining is hereby authorized to execute Amendment 2009-005 to the flexible spending plan that would permit employees to increase their employee health flexible spending account contribution to $2,650 effective January 1st, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
The board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Fire Department appointment, hose company number 5. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the Fire Chief Alfredo Fredrich of Ossining, New York, was elected active member of Holla Hose Company number 5 for interior and exterior firefighting as at their regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter E, Fire Department appointment, Senate Hook and Ladder Company number 1. Resolved that upon recommendation of Fire Chief Antoine Belton of Ossining, New York, was elected active member of Senate Hook and Ladder Company number 1 for interior and exterior firefighting at their regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Fire Department appointment, Cataract Hose Company number 2. Resolved that upon recommendation of Fire Chief Paul Arajo of Ossining, New York, was elected active member of Cataract Hose Company number 2 for interior and exterior firefighting at their regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Did we miss
Is there a
one?
problem?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
On the board? I'll just say,
No, I'm always concerned about making sure that these things get done for the fire department. So I thought we missed somebody, that's all.
nope, no, and I'm delighted to see there's 3 different companies, each with a new appointment. It's nice to see our department is continuing to grow. It is a very vibrant department. We have 9 different fire companies, and so a third of them are being represented here tonight. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter G, resolution for appointment to Village of Ossing Environmental Advisory Committee, whereas pursuant to local law number 9, 2017, the Village of Ossing Environmental Advisory Council consists of 7 members who shall be appointed to a term of 2 years. Now therefore be it resolved that Erica Bosch is appointed by the Village of Ossing Board of Trustees as a member of the Environmental Advisory Council with a term expiring on December 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And
On the board? Well, Rika, you're going to get to know Erica
Yes.
and your new role on EAC, but it was actually John who interviewed Erica recently, and she had come to us with interest in this. It's reflective of a lot of what she does in her daily life, plus she's an engaged community member, so I'm very pleased. Do you have any further comment on Erica's?
Well, she works for the city of New York and works on environmental issues, so
Great.
she's somebody that has professional expertise. And she's my neighbor on Ferris Place, so always good.
Yes, maybe not the deciding factor, but we're
No, it couldn't hurt, right?
all right, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter H, resolution for appointments to the Recreation Advisory Board, whereas the Recreation Advisory Board consists of 10 members, 5 members appointed by the Town Council and of the Town of Ossing, and 5 members appointed by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing, and whereas there are concurrently 2 openings for village members of the Recreation Advisory Board, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing appoints Fern Casada and Tamara Bridgewater to the Recreation Advisory Board, each with terms expiring on December 31st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, and then we have, somebody needs to second, because
Second.
Rika has a
Yeah.
comment or question.
That's
Yes.
right. Advisory result.
All right.
Oh, it's a Fern and tomorrow. You know, I wanted to ask, so I've seen this called the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board in so many places, but here it's, so is the legal name actually Recreation Advisory Board, not Parks? Because everywhere it's Parks and Recreation.
It's funny, I always call it the Recreation Advisory Board.
No, I know, so maybe I've seen it and it's just incorrect. This is actually its legal name? Because we always, all the minutes, it says Parks and Recreation. Maybe it's the show is so successful, that's how we refer to it.
The
but-
department itself is
the
actually
de-
called Recreation and Parks, too.
Yeah, and they're actually, just so the public knows, it's not just a community center, it's communities, it's the camps, it's the parks. They're actually, so I'm just wanting to make sure that it's
I will
correct.
double check. The documents I have delineated as Recreation Advisory Board.
You'll
So
check.
I will double check, so if it's a different name, we'll correct the
We'll
name.
figure it out. I think it should be actually Recreation Parks, because I actually think that is what they,
What they
Right.
do.
Because it's more than just programming, it's also facilities for
it's-
both the village and the town, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
thanks.
All right. Any others? Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I just want to say, Trustee Herrera, and you had sort of indicated that you're probably going to be abstaining from these votes, so anytime that you do abstain, is it helpful if the clerk,
So once
Oh,
again,
he's
just because I
the-
wasn't part of, the discussions and/or interviews, I trust the judgment of my colleagues, and I will be abstaining for anything that happened before January 1st of this year.
so that would be for Resolution G as well as Resolution H,
And
Okay.
I.
and more to come.
Yes, thank you.
Say abstain.
Okay.
So he's abstaining.
He's
allowed to
choosing
abstain.
to abstain
Yeah.
because he wasn't part of any of the discussions to make the recommendation that he's certainly entitled to vote, he's certainly entitled to abstain, and this seems better to him.
Resolution for appointments to the Village of Ossing's Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. Whereas pursuant to the Village of Ossing Code, Section 24-3, the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council shall consist of 9 members who shall be appointed for a term not exceeding 2 years and who shall be unsalaried, and whereas 3 of such members shall represent landlord interests, 3 shall represent tenant interests, and 3 members shall be neither landlords nor tenants in the Village of Ossing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing hereby appoints the following members to the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. Althema Goodson, tenant, term expiring December 31st, 2019. Maxine Lawrence, tenant, term expiring December 31st, 2019. Cynthia Rivers, CPO, tenant, term expires December 31st, 2018. Steve Dewey, landlord, term expires December 31st, 2019. Julie Johnson, landlord, term expires December 31st, 2019. Jack Riley, landlord, term expires December 31st, 2018. Gretchen Metzloff, neither tenant nor landlord, term expires December 31st, 2018. Arnold Eshton, neither tenant nor landlord, term expires December 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments?
Well, just one comment first. It's Goodson.
Goodson.
this
Althema
one-
Goodson.
Spelled correctly, it's
No, it's S-O-N.
ON?
S-O-N.
Yeah,
Oh.
S-O-N, yeah.
My apologies.
It's been a great experience. I want to thank my fellow colleague, Trustee Levin, for working with me. Started over a year ago, and we have definitely gone through many pieces of papers, many interviews. I also want to thank the mayor because she joined us for some of those interviews as well. And I think that this committee is going to do a great job, and it's definitely a needed committee in the Village of Ossing.
Further comments?
No, I mean, I'm going to ditto. I just want to end that for people who aren't keeping up with this, you know, this is a committee that existed. It's not new, but it's reconstituted. I mean, we re-engineered the entire committee. We gave it more powers. We're just really excited. We think this is a really good team of people there now, people represent. I want to make it clear that while we say landlord, it's landlord representative. So just so people understand some of the nuances here. And I think that once this group gets together and starts working as a team, we're going to do I think they're going to do some great stuff. And I think they're going to do some very progressive stuff that is going to be a model for other municipalities. I feel very strongly about that. I'm really excited about it.
And we were very pleased to have so many people who applied to serve on this, which meant a lot of hours of interviewing. And I don't think any one of us got to interview everybody, but one or two, usually 2 of us got to interview all of these folks. And we had a number of conversations among the 3 of us and among the full board, sort of trying to find the right balance of representatives of various kinds of tenant situations, various kinds of landlord situations. And we weren't sure exactly how, if we'd be able to really coalesce around a final decision, but I'm very pleased with these 8 recommendations. And as you can see, there is one still open spot for a neither tenant nor landlord. So we haven't talked about, we are planning to have a new approach to doing our application process and interview process for our volunteer boards and committees that will include more of a uniform application and focusing on a particular time of year. So that's something that we'll be discussing in upcoming work sessions, exactly what that will look like. For now, I'm just really thrilled that we're going to have far more than just a quorum so that this can get underway. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter J, resolution for appointments to Village of Ossing Board of Ethics, whereas pursuant to Section 17-5A of the Village of Ossing Code, the Board of Trustees shall appoint members of the village's Board of Ethics. Now be it resolved that upon due deliberation, the Board of Trustees appoints Claude Tuss to be a member of the village's Board of Ethics for a term expiring on March 15, 2020, and be it further resolved that upon due deliberation, the Board of Trustees appoints Michael Carnes to be a member of the village's Board of Ethics for a term expiring January 18, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Comments on the board?
I'm just thrilled that we filled out the Board of Ethics. Is a wonderful source for advisory comments that we look forward to. I think, that helps both the trustees, the village man, I mean, really, a whole number of people. I'm just thrilled that it's filled and that they can now really work as a team going forward. It's been a number of years since that board has been a full board, so I thank everybody that interviewed and everybody that is volunteering and is joining the Board of Ethics, and look forward to, all the great work ahead of them.
Yeah, more than just years since it's been a fully constituted board. Years ago, it was a 3-member board, and one of them was the Corporation Council, and the subcommittee for the reviewing the Board of Ethics included Trustee Levin and Trustee Codman, and one of the big changes was expanding it to a 5-member board. So the Corporation Council can be used as a resource by the Board of Ethics, but does not sit in as a member of the Board of Ethics. And we opened it up to be a little more flexible about what your residency is. At least 3 of the people have to be from the village. At least 3 of them have to be attorneys. And we have a real mix here. We have some attorneys, some non-attorneys, some unincorporated town members, some village members. And one of these spaces opened up because Sonia Tanksley had been serving on the Board of Ethics, and we are very pleased that she's moved on to be our new deputy counsel, and also equally pleased that we have some terrific new members to be for appointment tonight.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continuing business of the board.
No, ma'am.
New business of the board.
No, ma'am.
Visitor recognition. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board?
I believe there is. We'll be patient for a moment. I can see that there's someone who went out into the hallway that's being called in, although it looks like we may have more than one person speaking, so if anybody else would like to get started, you're more than welcome.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Pangle, and I'm the founder of the Cat Squad Rescue, and I live at 106 Dalmany Road in Briarcliff Manor, New York. Okay, thank you. First, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to come here tonight and just, introduce a tether law that my group has been working on. I wanted to just basically mention also that this all came about based on what went on in Portchester about a year ago. A group of community people got together based on some issues and passed the first tether law in Portchester. They then created a group, which you guys probably are familiar with, which is called claw.org. And they created a group that is sort of a legislative type of advisory group that has done a lot of research on for example, the puppy mill law that you guys passed here, I believe this year, was based on Dina Gorin and the group, who really do a lot of work and investigative work and research for real documentation about these issues. So I wanted to just preface that because they have been our inspiration and have been guiding us through, to get to this point with the tether law that is, you know, basically very similar to what they use. We've just been working with them, and they've been guiding us on all of this. So all I'm going to do tonight is just present a package to you with the actual, it's a very short law. And in addition to that, I'm presenting the 200 Austining resident signatures. And in addition to that, there's another 100 from an online petition that is sort of mixed, but some are residents and some are not. But this is what, you know, you guys can be looking at. And then there's just, in addition to that, we're just providing, you know, the current legislation throughout the country on various municipalities and states that are currently passing this law and investigating it and actually incorporating it. So that's basically it. I basically just wanted to introduce it for your consideration for the future. And I also wanted to just mention that, oh, okay.
Go ahead, you can have 20 more seconds because you were giving your address for a little while.
Just mention that currently there are 22 state laws and hundreds of municipalities across the U.S. that address the tethering of animals. And in particular, a law enforcement, and this is in your package too, a particular law enforcement officer had this statement that this is a welcome and enforceable tool for the animal control section I oversee. This ordinance has made it possible for officers to educate pet owners about the importance of interacting with their pets, proper activity, and exercise. It has also given us the ability and the teeth to prosecute those individuals that refuse to comply.
Thank you.
I highly recommend this law for the community. So
Thank
I'm
you
just going to
Yeah, thank you for
pass this
providing us
along.
with all the material that you've collected. And I see that you have hard copies there. If you have electronic copies, that's an easy way for us to share information. So
yeah.
please feel free to email those, and you have my email address.
Right. I'm just presenting everything in hard copy. I'm
Thank
just
you.
going to double check before I
It's no problem. We'll be here for a
pass
little
it
while
along
if
to
you
you.
want to.
Sorry. Okay.
Adjust.
All right.
That's fine.
I'll give it to you in just a second. Thank you
Thank you,
very
Ms.
much.
Pangle. Would anyone else like to comment this evening? Seeing no one else who wants to comment this evening, Madam Clerk? No?
Then we'll move into adjournment, executive session, matters relating to personnel. Do I have a motion?
Second?
Before we take a vote on this, I'll just remind everyone to please join us next week for our first work session of the year. We will be at 16 Croton Avenue, Village Hall, to discuss some whatever's first on the agenda. I think we still have some things to figure out in the next couple of days, and we'll have plenty of time tomorrow to be thinking about it from home, snug in our beds. Everyone, please, those of us who are not out shoveling and plowing, or when you're not out shoveling and plowing, do stay safe. There's no reason to be on the roads if you don't need to be. We are very grateful to all of our first responders and all of our public works folks for doing such a great job to keep us safe in our community and keep our roads clear. And know that you are there, and if we should need you, and certainly hope that we need you very little. Thank you very much for your incredible service to us, all of you. Meanwhile, all in favor of adjourning to executive session? Aye. This meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next week.